Imagine a wife and mother who decides to go back to school, takes the LSAT to get into law school, and passes with flying colors, so much that you receive a scholarship to go to law school. You graduate from law school second in your class, only one person ahead of you. You pass the bar with flying colors the first time, and you receive a score of 182 out of 200, being the highest score you can get on the bar. And you end up torturing and taking your own son's life. Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole giving you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. And after I did my lives on Natalia Grace, I realized that I definitely want to start taking a deeper dive into true crime and court cases. I've mentioned before that I have a passion for true crime documentaries, and a crew member, shout out to this crew member, I don't know if she wants me to say her name, she sent me this case and said, you may actually want to take a deep dive to learn more about what's going on in this court case. So here we are. I am actually going to talk about the Shonda Vander Ark case in Michigan. And this case is actually about her torturing and starving her own 15-year-old son, Timothy Ferguson. I want to start off by giving a trigger warning. Understand that some of the things that you will hear are disturbing on top of disturbing. Also, based on the information that I read on this case, I am giving my view of this case. I am not saying that everything that I found is factual. This is just the information I was able to gather by the videos as well as the articles. I am also saying this is for educational purposes and this is fair use. On July 6th of 2022, the police received a frantic call from a mother saying that something was wrong with her son and he was unresponsive. When the police entered the home, they found 15-year-old Timothy Ferguson's lifeless body on the floor, and at the time he only weighed 69 pounds. Now, of course, immediately the police started to investigate to see what in the hell happened to this young man. As they looked around the home, they saw the home was disorganized. It almost kind of looked like a hoarder house. They saw that there were motion detectors throughout the home, on all the doors, alarms on the doors, as well as locks on food pantries, as well as alarms and locks on the refrigerator. The mother, which her name is Shonda Vander Ark, apparently told the police that she checked on Timothy in the middle of the night. I guess she said that he allegedly fell out of the bed, and she checked on him and he was perfectly fine. And then she ends up finding allegedly that he is now unresponsive. But of course, the police, seeing the condition of Timothy as well as the home, knew that something wasn't right. They also found zip ties, they found handcuffs, and they randomly found a bottle of hot sauce in the bathroom of all places. And the mother claims that Timothy loved hot sauce. That's why the hot sauce was in the bathroom. They continued to look in the basement where Timothy was, and they found a closet that only had a tarp, But what was really disturbing about this closet is the strong odor that was coming from the closet. There was apparently a strong odor of urine and feces, as if someone or something was placed in that closet for a very long time. So immediately the police wanted to investigate this situation. They came back the next day or the day after, I believe, with a warrant to actually search the home again, but also take some of the things that they saw the day prior. When they got there, most of the things that they saw the day that they took Timothy's body out of the home, those things have disappeared. They were gone. So at that point, they decided to open up an investigation on Shonda and her son, Paul Ferguson, who is the older brother of Timothy Ferguson. At the time, it was Shonda, it was Paul, Timothy, and her youngest son, G, who only lived in the home. When they did an investigation on both Shonda and Paul, they both said that Timothy was on a hunger strike. And ever since Shanda's husband, who was Timothy's stepfather, Adam, had a stroke in 2022, Timothy decided to go on a hunger strike. However, the coroner's office said that Timothy Ferguson passed due to severe malnutrition and hypothermia and ruled it a homicide. So at that point, they began to investigate, and Shanda, and I'm probably saying her name wrong, Shonda or Shanda, I'm going to call her bitch, and her son Paul claimed that the hunger strike was the only reason why Timothy was the way that he was. He decided to do this to himself until Paul finally broke down and admitted that his mother, Shanda Vander Ark, is the reason for what happened. That she decided to torture and starve Timothy, and Paul did exactly what his mother told him to do out of fear and low self esteem. Based on my research, Shanda was not supposed to have Timothy in the first place. She gave up her rights, her parental rights, voluntarily, but she gave them up because apparently there were similar allegations on her when she lived in Oklahoma with Timothy, Paul, her other children, and her ex husband, Eric Ferguson, who is Paul and Timothy's father. So she gave up her rights, and Eric Ferguson had custody, legal custody of the children. Now, based on my research, and I'm going to say all allegedly at this point, but based on my research, Timothy's stepbrothers and sisters claim that Timothy's stepmother was the one who was actually taking care of Timothy. Eric wasn't really involved in his life, and I guess it became overwhelming for the stepmother. And because of that, she told Eric he needed to step up his game as a father to help with Timothy. And instead of doing that, he allegedly contacted Shanda and told Shanda that he can't handle Timothy and she needs to take care of him, or he was going to be placed in the system. Now, if you ask me, as we can see, he was better off being placed in foster care. But apparently, this is what happened. And again, just another example on top of other examples of how our system is screwed. Okay, it is truly screwed. And these kids are constantly being neglected and being ignored until something tragic like this happens. Now people want to pay attention to how flawed and crazy our system is.
Just to kind of put a bow on this and clarify things, Ms. Vander Ark, is it true that the last custody order from Oklahoma that involved Timothy indicated that you are only to be allowed supervised parenting time?
That is correct.
And how did it happen that you ended up with custody then?
My ex reached out to me, stating that Timothy he could no longer handle him, that he was pushing his buttons and that he needed to send him to live with me.
And you agreed to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Had you ever lived with Timothy during his
When he was younger, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So you agreed to accept him into your home?
Yes, sir.
And who was living in your home at the time?
Myself, my husband, Adam, Paul Ferguson, and then my little man, G.
G. Okay, that's what we've been calling G, correct?
That's really hard to do, yes, sir.
Okay, just do the best you can. Okay, so they're all living in your home, and then Timothy joins you, correct?
Yes, sir.
When Timothy's joining you, did your ex-husband ever make any effort to transfer legal custody to you?
We discussed it, but he never did actually sign anything, no, sir.
Okay. And without legal custody, how do you get Timothy into school?
You can't.
And without legal custody, how do you get medical treatment for Timothy?
You can't.
I'm going to keep reminding you throughout this video that she's a lawyer, an attorney. Now, clearly you will see throughout this video, she loves to be the victim. And so maybe she thought she would gain some sympathy and empathy for taking Timothy in because his father didn't want him. But here's the problem. It's illegal that you are taking him in, and you practice law. You went to school for law. So why did you feel it was better off that he was with you when you couldn't properly take care of him under the law? You could not put him in school. He couldn't get medical benefits. What was your purpose? Why did you take him? Again, she is a lawyer. In my opinion, Oklahoma would have never given her custody just based off of her allegations and the fact that she voluntarily said, you can have the kids. But to me, it's still a big question mark on why you took him in. Even if, because you have people out there who bring kids in just so they can get state benefits or whatever the case may be, she couldn't do that either. So I'm just trying to figure out why in the hell did she decide to do that? I just don't understand how an attorney decides to illegally take her child and doesn't think that's an issue.
Now, Mr. Johnson was talked to you about the fact that after Adam had his stroke tragically in January and was out of the home, that was a significant financial hit for you. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of that, you didn't have a lot of income coming in. Were you working in Newaygo at that time?
I was, yes, sir.
So when you worked here, it was not a paid internship. You were working in Newaygo for paid internship at that time. Is that correct?
For paid clerkship, yes, sir.
Right, clerkship. And then what were your other sources of income at that time?
Which time?
Well, in January, right after the stroke.
Right after the stroke. The rental income that I received from my brother from Oklahoma, and then I was down to one dog training client.
Yes, you heard that correctly. She trained dogs. She was a dog trainer. She treated animals better than she treated her own flesh and blood, her own child that came out of her. From my understanding, allegedly, apparently, she had a YouTube page. She truly was like trying to train dogs because she had her own service animals for her own medical issues that she had. I find that interesting that she literally was being hired to train people's dogs. Also, I wonder when it comes to Adam, he had a stroke. He had to live with his parents. I'm wondering if he was getting some type of disability and was still actually footing the bills a little bit in that household, and she just doesn't want to say anything. I just don't know if Adam just left and completely went to his parents' house and she was on her own at that point. I don't trust anything that this woman says. Now, from my understanding, Adam has since passed. Rest in peace. After the stroke, I guess things went downhill and he is no longer living. So G the child of Adam and Sandra or Sanda, whatever the hell her name is. Apparently, he's living with family now. But yes, a dog trainer.
You talked about, Mr. Johnson asked you about the motion sensors, and I'm not sure we got like any real sense of clarity about the motion sensors. When we're talking about motion sensors, we're talking about ones that would not only go off if there was motion, that's what a motion sensor is, obviously, but would give some type of audio alarm, right?
Some of them did, yes, sir.
And Timothy had very sensitive hearing, didn't he?
I was not aware of that, no, sir. That's when Paul said that yesterday, that puzzled me.
You didn't know about that? You didn't know he had surgery to put tubes in his ears?
I was there for the surgery for his tubes, but no, I mean, it was, at least my experience with Timothy was half the time he didn't hear what you were saying. So,
did you know that he found it discomforting when those noises happened? Did you know that was, you know, for lack of a better way of putting it, that was a punishment too for those noises to be going on?
no, sir, I did not.
Timothy was autistic, right? He was on the autism
Yes, sir,
spectrum.
on the spectrum.
Loud noises, disturbances, things like that. Those are troubling for folks with autism, aren't they?
For some of them, but he never, I mean, he liked to listen to his tablet extremely loud. And I remember, because little man, sorry, I'm trying not to say his name.
Yeah.
You know, when we'd have thunderstorms, sometimes it would freak him out, and things like that didn't bother Timothy at all.
There are truly some people in this world that have book smarts, but they have zero common sense. I don't think that's the case with her. I think the bitch thinks that we're stupid. You know that he had a surgery for his ears, which means that his ears were sensitive and he probably couldn't hear that well, which is why you said from your experience, he just didn't hear us or hear you. Timothy probably couldn't hear that well. That's why he had his iPad up really loud. That's why he didn't respond to the thunderstorms. That's probably also why he couldn't put two and two together that those triggers or those alarms that were throughout the house, he probably didn't hear them that well or he didn't realize they were for him. Not to mention, he was autistic. He was autistic, okay? And she truly treated this child, her own child, like he was nothing to her. Absolutely nothing. He wasn't a human. He wasn't an animal. He was nothing. She treated him damn near like property. I don't even know if I could say property. This woman is a demon. There's just no nice way to put it. She is a demon. And it's damn ridiculous that she is saying this with a straight face as if she is so confused as to what this prosecutor is saying. And she was confused as to what Paul was saying about his hearing. But she gives examples of how clearly he had a hearing problem.
And I'm wondering why the text message that you sent to Paul about Timothy making a mess in the garage was that he had to clean the garage without anything on below the waist, and then he could stand against the wall without anything below his waist.
I don't remember that, sir, I'm sorry.
You don't remember that text message?
No, sir.
Interesting. Take a look at, this is from the larger text messages. This is all the text messages between you and Paul. It's a few hundred, if not 1,000 pages. Take a look at, this is page 5783, if Mr. Johnson wants to reference. The blue is your text messages. Can you read that for the jury, please?
The blue one says, my bigger issue is that you said you checked every minute or so, but checking on the camera would have told you he wasn't listening. I'm not absolving him of responsibility by a long shot, but there are reasons the cameras are in place.
What time was that sent?
4:14 p.m. it looks like.
So at 4:14 p.m., you're upset with Paul because he's not watching Timothy every minute on the cameras, right?
If I remember correctly, that particular day, yeah, he said he was going to check. That wasn't, I didn't expect him to check every day, but there were days that were much more challenging, and that was when I asked him to keep a closer eye on.
Where's the text message that describes what the challenging incident was that day?
I don't know, sir. I mean, there was a lot of challenging incidents.
You talked about, we talked about the autism already. You talked about a number of other issues that that Timothy had: bipolar, ADHD. Were there some other ones?
Sensory processing disorder.
Sensory process. So he had the same disorder that you did.
Yes, sir.
Sensory processing disorder.
But there's different manifestations of it.
He had the one where his senses being overloaded didn't make a problem for him. Is that what you're saying?
He was more hyposensitive, which means he didn't react the way a typical person would, as far as less of a reaction. There was a time, I was told about it when we still lived in Oklahoma. I guess he was being given a bath and he fell and hit his jaw, and he didn't say anything. He didn't say he was in pain. Well, I guess he went to someone's bedroom and my oldest son brought him back out and he had completely bitten through his tongue and not said anything. So he did not react as much to stimuli as most people do. There's hypo and hypersensitive, and he was hyposensitive.
And is there medication for that you take?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't.
Do you go to counseling for you, or did you go to counseling for you?
Not for that, no, sir.
For any of your other issues, though?
I have over time. It's been a long time.
But in fact, the entire time Timothy was in the state of Michigan, you never took him to a counselor or a doctor to address any of those issues, did you?
No, sir, I didn't have the insurance information.
So is this woman smart but dumb, or smart and she knows that she's privileged and she didn't think she was going to get caught? Again, you're an attorney. I am sure when you review cases, you see plenty of cases where cell phone data is used as proof, like text messages, and you go back and forth with your son for months, hundreds and thousands of messages, and you didn't think this would be seen as evidence, you dumbass? No, she's not dumb. She thought she wasn't going to get caught because she's privileged. And we all know there are certain people who are privileged in this world. I am convinced she is not stupid at all. But another thing that she said is that Timothy had several disabilities, including a disability that she has. And she gives an example of how severe his disability is, where he bit through his tongue and didn't say anything and didn't even realize, I guess, that what happened was wrong, or he needed to tell someone. So if you knew this about him, you expect for him to understand what you claim he was doing was wrong, as far as eating frozen food and different things like that? It does not make any sense. She's telling on herself on the stand, and she's an attorney. Not smart at all. She can't even talk her way out of this situation, and she's an attorney. And when the prosecutor says, well, what about medicine? There's no medicine for that. Okay, well, what about counseling? I couldn't get counseling for him. So again, if you couldn't help him, why did you take him? And if you couldn't help him at this point, give him to the authorities until you can. As far as I see it, she saw Timothy, in my opinion, as a financial liability, amongst other things. And as soon as Adam left that house, in my opinion, she created a plan to get rid of him.
You didn't reach out to any resources in the community that might have been available to help, did you?
I did actually contact...
Yes or no? Did you reach out to any resources in the community? Which ones?
I contacted DHHS about getting him on Medicaid, but they said that because he had other insurance, that would be primary, so we still had to have that information.
Did you reach out to Community Mental Health, or Health West, I guess it's called now?
I didn't. I wasn't aware of it. I hadn't heard of Health West until I started working in the courthouse.
Right. You worked in this courthouse, in the county that you live in, for at least the entire summer, as I recall correctly, and you never knew that we had a mental health agency here in Muskegon County?
I didn't realize that's what it was for. I honestly, I didn't think about it. As far as resources go, the only thing that I thought about was DHHS for things like Medicaid and food stamps.
Mr. Johnson asked about Timothy being on medication for a lot of his issues. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said that when he came to you, he was like a zombie, right?
Yes, sir.
So you decided to take him off those medications, didn't you?
No, sir, we didn't. We couldn't get refills. We had to get a refill through a doctor, and we didn't have a doctor.
So your testimony wasn't that you took him off those medications?
I said that I wanted to.
You wanted to.
Yes, sir. At least some of them, because he was a zombie. It was horrible.
You wanted to take him off the medications, and it happened anyway because you can get refills for him. So you're actually happy that that happened.
Not the way it happened, but he wasn't a zombie afterwards.
But you definitely did not consult with the doctor before you did that.
No, sir, because we ran out.
But you and again, didn't reach out to any, besides DHHS, didn't reach out to any resources in the community that might have helped you out with a child with such severe emotional issues that you have to use motion sensors and later alarms and locks on things. You didn't reach out for any resources before you just decided to stop him taking medication.
Before he ran out, I wasn't aware of. Like I said, DHHS is pretty much the main resource that I was aware of.
Did you ever talk to somebody and say, look, I'm at my wit's end here? I did reach out to resources and talk to the judge that you were collecting for. I said, what can I do to get some help here? Did you ever do any of that?
I talked to some friends at work,
And they
but I didn't
come up
ask.
with an idea?
I didn't ask for resources. I just vented to them, and nobody suggested anything. I didn't ask.
You claim he wasn't a zombie afterwards, after you took him off the medicine. But once you took him off the medicine, you claim that he became out of control. However, in my opinion, it just sounds like a kid who wanted to eat. But he became out of control so much that you just began to starve him. And as far as resources are concerned, one part about being an attorney, I would say most of it is research and resources. And you mean to tell me you're an attorney and you work for a courthouse and you didn't bother to get more resources? I would say, in my opinion, it's because she didn't want to get resources. And then also, she says she talked to her coworkers and she would vent to them, but they wouldn't provide any information to her. Well, apparently, the internet streets are saying that her coworkers really didn't like her. Okay? They did not like her. They said she really didn't do her work. She was constantly on that phone. I wonder why. Maybe because she was too busy looking at those cameras and texting Paul. But they didn't really like her. They really allegedly kept their distance from her. But Timothy was the problem, not you. Also, when all else fails and people may not know where you can go, you may not know the resources that are out there. You know what a great resource is? Google, bitch.
Just because you offered stuff, I mean, you couldn't. Even though it says try to force him to eat, you couldn't force him to eat stuff. I mean, if he didn't.
You heard Paul's testimony yesterday that they had to force him to eat that bread sauce, the bread with hot sauce on it, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I don't know what he means by that.
It's interesting you use the phrase, we tried to tempt him with food. That came up while he was in the ice bath, didn't it? Tempting him with food.
Do you mean the day before he passed?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, yes, sir. I mean,
You told Paul to heat up some pizza rolls because G needed the pizza rolls anyway, right? You remember that?
yes, sir.
You remember
I don't remember the text message.
Don't
but
remember. So this falls in the I don't remember category as well. Is that right?
like most of it.
Well,
Yes.
the text message says, heat one up, hold it in front of him, but be ready to pull away if he tries to grab it. You don't remember sending any of that?
I don't remember it. No, sir.
So, this food that they tried to make him eat was bread soaked in hot sauce. And not just any hot sauce, but extremely hot, hot sauce that even your average adult can't handle. So, who in the hell will want to eat that? They also used to torture him by putting him in ice baths, cold water with ice, and forcing Timothy to sit in it for hours. Now, what they're describing in this video is the day before Timothy passed. I believe Paul contacted his mother and said that he's not responding, and she tries to say entice him with pizza rolls because G has to eat anyways. So entice him with pizza rolls, but if he does respond, take the pizza rolls away. Pretty much, let me just use this so you can respond so I know that I guess you're still alive.
You don't remember anything.
No, sir, I don't.
But somehow you were able to hold down a job as a judicial clerk during that time period, right?
Yes, sir. My only,
You were able to at least provide dog training to one client at that time, correct?
yes, sir.
And you remembered to tell Paul to get up and walk Sharma just about every morning, didn't you?
I mean, that would be automatic, it would be reflex. If it's in there, then I would assume so, yes, sir.
That would be reflex. To tell Paul to get up and walk Sharma, is that what you're saying?
I mean, if it's a habit, if I do it enough times, then
You told the officer that there was an alarm on the basement door. That's the closet. This is the small closet because there was some sewing stuff stored in it. That was a lie, wasn't it?
yes, sir. There was sewing stuff stored in it before he asked to do that, but
But the alarm
I don't know why I told him that.
The alarm wasn't on there because there was sewing stuff on it, was there?
No, sir.
The alarm was on it because Timothy was supposed to be in there, right?
I mean, as far as I know, like I said, I don't.
You don't remember, but you were able to lie to the police officer at the time?
I don't remember talking to the police. I mean, I don't remember this part of the conversation with the police officer, sir.
He said he fell out of bed and you went and had to get him and put him back into bed. He never fell out of bed that night, did he?
Not as far as I know. I don't remember, sir.
Well, you know he didn't sleep in the bed that night, don't you?
Well, yeah. So I'm sorry.
Saying that you got up at 5:30 and had to put him back into bed, and then you changed it to 30 minutes because it's sometime with an ending in 30 because you learned at that point the rigor mortis had already set in and he'd been deceased for a number of hours. That was still a lie, wasn't it?
I mean, yes, sir. I don't remember any of this. I'm sorry.
So going back to the beginning of my video, when the police came and they started questioning her, these are the things that she said to them. The closet that smelled like urine and feces. Apparently, like I told you, there was a motion detector or alarm of some sort on that door. She claims it was there because there was sewing products, materials in that closet. She claims that's the reason why she had an alarm on a door because it was filled with sewing products. I guess a sewing machine, whatever she used. But that was a lie. She had an alarm on there because that's where Timothy slept. She also lied about how she woke up in the middle of the night and she heard him fall out of the bed and she made sure he was okay and went back to sleep. And the next thing you know, he was unalived when she woke up. The attorney also said that's not true. She never did that because based on the evidence, he had been gone. He had been unalive for hours. Okay, hours before she said at 5:30 a.m. she checked on him. Based on the science, they said he had already been gone for hours. So that was also a lie.
The hot sauce in the bathroom downstairs was for food. But it wasn't, was it? The hot sauce was for punishment, right?
It was also to put on food.
But you didn't mention that, we also use hot sauce as a form of punishment, did you?
Apparently not.
I'm guessing you probably didn't mention the officer. We also had the crazy idea yesterday to pour some hot sauce on his penis for a punishment. You didn't mention that either, did you?
Apparently not, sir. Like I said, I don't remember.
You told the officer that you did not restrict Timothy's movement at night with shackles. That was also a lie, wasn't it?
Again, I don't remember, sir. I know we talked about it, but as far as overnight, no.
But you would restrict his movement with shackles, wouldn't you? Whether it was zip ties or handcuffs or leg shackles.
I mean, I can only go back based on the text messages. I don't know.
And the hot sauce. The hot sauce wasn't used only for the bread. It was also used for it to be placed on his private parts. Now, I don't know how many times it said this in a text message, but apparently the day before when Paul said that he was not responding, Timothy was not responding, she actually told Paul to put hot sauce on his private area to see if he would respond.
Why did you wait 20 minutes to call 911 after you found Timothy deceased in the small closet in the small room?
I have no idea, honestly. I learned of that gap, just a couple of days ago. The whole day is surreal to me, so I have no idea why we waited like that. I don't know.
Timothy was never responsive to you, was he?
No, sir.
His eyes were wide open, completely glazed over, weren't they?
As far as I remember, yes, sir.
He never moved, never took a breath, never did anything, did he?
No, sir.
While this is all going on, you tell Paul, we'll have to tell them he was on a hunger strike, right? Remember telling him that?
No, I don't.
Don't remember that either?
No, sir.
You remember telling Paul, or do you remember saying, put his pants on to make it look like he's been this way?
I don't remember saying that.
You remember asking Paul to put the belt on to make it sure that that's the way he looked?
No, sir.
But if they're on video, you said those things,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Ms. Van Ark, isn't it true? Timothy had just become nothing more than an annoyance for you, and he wasn't even a human being in your eyes anymore.
That is absolutely not true.
How is it not true, you demon bitch?
You said the locks on the refrigerator were there because he got into the refrigerator, and if I heard your testimony correctly, he ate a pound of frozen hamburger?
Yes, sir. That was back.
And a bag of chicken nuggets?
A frozen bag of chicken nuggets, yes, sir.
And frozen hamburger?
Yes, sir. The hamburger was not frozen, it was refrigerated.
But frozen chicken nuggets?
Frozen chicken nuggets and raw bacon.
And raw bacon?
Yes, sir.
Frozen raw bacon?
No, it was in the refrigerator.
The frozen stuff was the chicken.
The chicken nuggets, that was the only frozen, yes, sir.
Did you think he had an affinity for frozen food?
That baby was starving and was willing to eat raw beef and raw pork to put something in his stomach.
Is that why you sent a text message to Paul while he was in the ice bath at 3:43 that afternoon and said, oh, okay, crazy thought. Tell him if he actually sits up by himself and stays sitting up, he will get some pizza rolls. Don't tell him it's only 2, and I'm okay if they are frozen rather than cooked. Why'd you send that text message?
I don't know.
Don't remember that even either?
No, sir.
So you're not worried about him eating frozen pizza rolls if he sits up. You told Detective Peasky that long after the stroke happened in January, Timothy went on a hunger strike. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Not long after, and no, that was not a lie, that was the truth.
He went on a hunger strike.
Yes, sir, he did. It wasn't immediately, but it was within a few days.
And a hunger strike is refusing to eat, right?
Yes, sir.
So he's refusing to eat food not long after your husband has a stroke, right?
Yes, sir.
Then you don't need to put locks on the refrigerator and freezer, do you? If he's refusing to eat.
He stopped. He started eating again.
He started eating again, so then you decided he's been on a hunger strike, he's eating again, so now we better lock up the food.
No, I did the locks to protect him because he could have killed himself eating the chicken nuggets. I didn't put the locks on after he did the hamburger or the bacon, but the chicken nuggets, it was raw chicken.
Chicken nuggets are cooked, aren't they? They're pre-cooked.
Are they? I didn't even think about that.
But it's okay if he has a frozen pizza roll or 2 if he sits up, right?
Well, no, the point of it was he was sneaking things. He knew better.
Couldn't have chips.
It wasn't that he couldn't have chips. It was that he would sneak things. It
So
was
how would
dishonest.
How would he earn getting chips?
He didn't have to earn them. All he had to do was ask. I was trying to teach him not to sneak. He snuck. It wasn't just food. He would sneak in the garage. He would sneak toys. He snuck around and messed with his baby brother's homeschooling materials. I've got like flashcards and stuff for him. He messed with those and got them all out of order.
It sounds like he was being a kid. It sounds like he was being a kid that needed attention and love. It sounds like he was a kid that was being starved. There's so many other details with this case. Apparently, she had Paul chase him up and down stairs. Mind you, he didn't have the energy or the strength to do any of this stuff. It's even implied that she told Paul to knock him down. When I tell you this baby went through so much in that household, all due to his mother and his brother, because I don't look at Paul like he's innocent in this situation.
Mr. Ferguson, you are testifying here today, and is it your understanding that you do have an agreement with the Muskegon County Prosecutor's Office in exchange for your testimony today against your mother, the defendant in this case, Shonda Vanderhart?
Yes, sir.
And is it your understanding that as part of that agreement, the people have agreed that none of your testimony today would be used against you should you exercise your right to have a trial in the pending criminal matter against you?
Yes, sir.
And is it also your understanding that in exchange for your testimony today, you understand that the prosecutor's office will make representations to the judge that oversees your case if such time is reached that you are sentenced in that matter, and that you hope to get some sentencing benefit as a result of your testimony today?
Yes, sir.
And is that in exchange for your truthful testimony today?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of any other promises in regards to your testimony today?
No, sir.
And and for clarity's sake, you are also charged in this matter involving the death of your brother. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what charges are brought against you at this point?
Child abuse first degree.
Mr. Robert Stark, you got a deal for testimony, right?
That nothing I say will be used against me. Should I pursue this into my case in a trial?
Okay, that's good. That's not what I asked you though. Did you get a deal?
A deal? No, sir.
You've not got no deal.
No, sir.
Okay. You're not a lawyer though, right?
No.
And you have a lawyer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right. Let's go way back to the very beginning. I remember, I don't know if you've seen the police reports in this case, have you?
Yes, sir.
You seen the, in the first police reports I saw, where they talked to you, you referred to your mother as either mom or mama. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then in the, you had an interview with Detective Pieskey. You remember that? Detective, are you here? Could you stand please? It's like to see you. You remember that gentleman there? Detective Pieskey?
Not perfectly, but
Okay.
yes.
2 days, thank you. 2 days after after the event, after Tim passes, you have an interview in his office. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
You're wearing shorts and your sleeves were up and that sort of thing was warm out outside.
Yes.
You remember that? And during that interview, you referred to your mother as mom or mother. Do you remember that? Or mother or mama, something like that, right?
Yes, sir.
And about 3 weeks later, well, however long it was, 3 weeks later, we had a preliminary examination, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you refer to your mother as Shonda, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And one of the things that happened between the time that you interviewed with Detective Pieskey and the time you testified your preliminary examination is you cut a deal, didn't you? Take your time.
No, sir. Not that I'm aware of.
You're not aware. You testified to it at the prelim. Don't you remember? We talked about it at the prelim. There was testimony on it. You remember?
I said what my guidelines were, but I was not given a deal for them.
Okay, you were not given a deal. And according to the first degree child abuse, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And according to your testimony and other things you said, you're the one who put the hot sauce in this boy's mouth.
Per her orders, yes.
Timothy's mouth. You're the one who put the cuffs, the bracelets on, the ties on it, right?
Per her orders.
You're the one who put him in the cold baths, correct?
Per her orders.
You're the one who said, in one of those texts that that you've never wanted to beat somebody up, and I forget the exact word, beat somebody so bad in your entire life. You said that, was that per her orders?
No.
You also said that if something happened, you'd kill him. Was that per orders too?
No.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm asking. But you're not charged with first murder, are you?
No.
So whose responsibility was it to keep an eye on Timothy if she was not in the house?
Mine.
And vice versa, like if you were not in the home, who would take the responsibility of watching Timothy at that point in time?
She would.
But the small room that you've described, at some point in time, there was a tarp placed in there. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And what was the reason there was a tarp placed in that room?
Due to Timothy's bladder problems, Shonda didn't want him urinating on the floor.
Would that be something that he would do?
Yes.
Did he wear some type of adult
Diaper, yes.
And let me ask it this way: if Timothy had to go to the bathroom, how would he go to the bathroom?
He would have to ask, and he would be timed.
And who would do the timing?
Whichever one of us was there.
So he'd ask, Mason has to ask permission to go to the bathroom.
Yes, sir.
And what time was he allowed to go to the bathroom?
For urinating, it was a minute. For
You can say the word, it's okay.
taking a poop, it was 2 minutes.
And who set those time limits?
Shonda.
I know this is difficult for you, Paul, and you and I have had a number of conversations about this matter. But I need you to look at a text message that you sent to your mother. It's got a photo that you took of your brother. You remember sending that text message?
Yes, sir.
For the record, this is People's 36A. This has been previously shown to the jury. Who took that photo of your brother?
Me.
And you sent it to your mother?
Yes, sir.
Why did you send it to your mother?
Because I was concerned with how thin he was.
That photo was taken on, do you remember what the date was?
Not the exact, no.
If your phone indicated it was June 13th, you'd have no reason to dispute that.
No, sir.
And you just became, again, the reason you sent it to your mother was why?
Because I was concerned about how thin he was.
You remember what your mother told you to give him after you sent her that photograph?
Bread?
And then is there a reference to bread and some peanut butter?
Yes.
So at that point, your brother's very skinny, right? Was he eating regular meals at that point?
No.
Were you still administering the hot sauce on the bread as a form of punishment for him during that time period?
Yes.
And did that continue all the way up until the time of his death?
Yes.
Did he ever eat any normal type of meal leading up to his death after you took that photo and sent it to your mother?
That day I made him an actual real meal, an actual peanut butter and jelly sandwich, as well as scrambled some eggs and put cheese in them.
Did you tell your mother you made that meal for him?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because I didn't want her to be upset with me.
So according to this testimony, Paul was able to make Timothy eggs with cheese and a peanut butter sandwich, and he was able to pass all the cameras to feed Timothy that food. And he said he didn't tell his mother because he knew his mother would be upset. If you were able to pass him food June of 2022, why didn't you pass him food any other time? Clearly, you found a way to get past those cameras to feed him. Why didn't you do it over and over again when you saw that he was getting so frail and so sick?
Let's move up to the day before your brother passed away. Do you remember the day before your brother died?
He was unresponsive when I was told to get him up.
So you were given some instructions to wake him up in the morning?
Yes.
Was your mother already up?
Yes.
Were the cameras activated at that point, though?
Yes.
So your responsibility when you had to go wake him up was what? Just to do what? To get him up?
Just wake him up, which normally wasn't difficult before then.
And this is the day before he passed away, but was it difficult on that day?
Very.
Did you scream at him and yell at him to get him to try to wake up?
Yes.
And at some point were you instructed to do something with him because he wouldn't wake up?
Put him in an ice bath.
And did you do that?
Yes.
Was he able to... Where was he sleeping that night?
Closet.
So when you went to wake him up and he was unresponsive, was he still in the closet?
Yes.
How did you get him from the closet to the bathroom with the?
I
How's
had
that?
to drag him.
He didn't stand on his own?
He couldn't, no.
Didn't walk on his own? Is that
No.
Was he even talking at that point?
No.
Do you remember about what time it was that you put him in the ice bath?
Not exactly, no.
If the text message indicated it was around 2 o'clock, does that sound about right?
Yes.
What time did you have to leave for work that particular day?
I was supposed to be at work at 4, but unfortunately, due to a flat tire on my e-bike, I had to wait till 6 for my mother to get home and drive me to work.
So from 2 to 6 until your mother got home, you were home with Timothy, is that right?
Yes,
And where was Timothy that entire time that you were home with him?
in the bath.
In the ice bath? Was your
Yes.
mother giving you instructions on what to do with him while he was in that tub then, at that point in time?
Yes, sir.
What was she telling you to do?
Make him uncomfortable, and at one point she had me heat up a pizza roll to see if he would be responsive to enticement.
Did you actually do that?
Yes.
And what did you, so describe for the jury exactly what you did with that pizza roll with Timothy in the tub.
I held it close, and when he responded, as per instruction, I was to pull it away from him.
So did you actually do this?
Yes.
So you actually held a pizza roll in front of him to see if he would respond? Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
I know it's difficult. Did he respond?
Yes, sir.
What did you do when he tried to respond?
I had to, or as I was told, I pulled it away.
So he didn't get to eat the pizza roll?
No.
Do you recall while Timothy was in the tub, an exchange where your mother inquired about pouring hot sauce on his private parts?
I do, yes.
Did you do that?
No. That was beyond rules, as everything else was.
So you put him in the tub around 2. Did your mom come home at 6?
Yes.
And when your mom gets home at 6, did you go to work at that point in time?
She drove me to work, yes.
And was Timothy still in the tub at that point in time?
Yes.
So you and your mom drove to Grand Haven to drop you off at work, and Timothy's just in the tub?
Yes, sir.
Was he even physically able to move around at that point in time?
No.
Do you recall getting a text message from your mother around 11:30 or so that night while you were at work?
Yes.
And
Though I saw it later than that because I was busy.
so you received the text message, but you didn't actually read it until a little bit later than it was received.
Yes, sir.
And what did you understand from that text message from your mother about where Timothy had been up until the time you were at work at 11:30 at night?
Still in the tub.
So that's 9 hours plus from the time that you first put him in the tub at 2 o'clock?
Yes.
When you got home, do you remember about what time you got home that night?
1 o'clock.
How did you get home? Did somebody give you a ride?
Yes.
So
Your worker.
Did your mom didn't pick you up that night, did she?
No.
When you got home at 1 o'clock, did you go to your bedroom?
Yes.
Downstairs in the basement area, the lower level?
Yes, sir.
Did you see Timothy at all?
No.
Did you check on him at all?
No.
So you didn't check on him. Okay. My personal opinion, I don't think Timothy responded to that pizza roll the night before he passed. I really don't think he did. And for someone who was so concerned about him being so frail 3 weeks ago, the day before when he was unresponsive to everything that you were doing, you get home and you still don't check on him?
Mr. Johnson was asking you about and there are a lot of references between the two of you about, oh, this is just an act on his part. He's acting. See how fake it is. You wouldn't disagree that there's a lot of text messages back and forth between you two, is there?
I would not.
It goes without saying, but you are not Timothy's father.
No.
You are not Timothy's mother.
No.
Obviously. Have you ever raised a child before?
No.
Why were you so convinced that any of this was an act?
Because she was his mother, and I suppose I believed that mothers know best. If you have the right ones, they do.
I understand she's the mother. I understand that. And I know how mothers and fathers can have that power over their kids. But in my opinion, Paul should receive the same charges as his mother. Out of all the evidence that was shown, the articles, the files, the court files, find me text messages that says, "Mom, he looks really sick. Mom, this isn't right. Mom, please stop this. Mom, I have to feed him. Mom, this is my brother." Find me those text messages. Let me see that Paul truly had a heart and he was begging his mom to stop this. Also, he claimed he made him eggs and a peanut butter sandwich. Where's the other times that he snuck food to his brother? To the point where maybe she even questioned, are you feeding him because he's not losing weight? Are you feeding him? He seems to be stronger. We don't see any of that. At least I haven't. And again, if you find it, let me know. So as far as I see it, he's just as responsible. He's an adult. He's not getting the same charges. He's only getting one charge, which is the child abuse. I'm nervous that they're going to be lenient on him because he testified against his mother. As far as I see it, he is just as responsible and he's just as crazy as his mother. And in my opinion, he needs to be off the streets just as much as she does. Shanda received life without parole, which I think is appropriate. She needs to be reminded every single day what she did to her innocent son, Timothy. As far as Paul is concerned, his sentencing does not come until the end of this month. I am hoping that they do not go lenient on him because he testified against his mother. As far as I see it, both of them need psych evaluations and they need to be off the streets. So with that being said, what did you guys think about my review on this case? Do you know about this case? Please like, share, and comment below, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.